Hello everyone, thanks for tuning into part 1 of the 11th Winter 2021-2022 update from GavsWeatherVids. So here we go again, it's time to bring you another part 1 of another winter update, and as we have over the past previous sort of 10 weeks, we're going to be looking at things like sea surface temperature anomalies, solar activity, Eurasian snow cover, what's going on with stratosphere, etc, etc, etc. There will be lots and lots of detail and data entailed in this video, so please sit back, relax and enjoy. Thank you so much for doing that. The final sort of 10-15 minutes of video will become an ENSO special as well, and tomorrow part 2 of this update we'll be looking at ENSO La Nina analogues. So the 11th update is kind of like an ENSO special, but of course we're going to have plenty to show you in addition to that, as you would expect from a GavsWeatherVids winter update. So it's going to be epic, it's going to be great. Thank you so much everybody for tuning in. Just say that the first video today was our 7 AM upload, and we've got a live stream coming up at 6 PM. It's sunny, so we're going to do some long range. No doubt we'll be discussing this winter update, but we'll show you some long range from the CFSV2 and from Patal Peng as well. So yeah, live stream coming up at 6 o'clock. Hopefully, I'll see you all there. We are getting ever closer to the end of our winter updates now. Once this 11th update in 2 parts is complete tomorrow evening, then that's it until the 12th, and then the 13th update, and then that's it. So just 2 more winter updates and 1 more seasonal round to go after this update, you know, so we are very much getting towards the end of our journey now. Still got a lot of data to show you, still 2 more updates in 2 parts, so 4 videos overall, and of course a seasonal roundup, so still a lot to get through, but we are, you know, very much towards the final stages now of the update. So I hope you enjoyed this year's winter updates. I think they've been the best we've ever done. I think they're the most, you know, detailed. We've showed you as much data as we've ever showed you before, and yeah, I just hope that you've enjoyed it and you'll be able to come back and watch these, you know, long into the future, revisit the data that we've demonstrated for you and we've given you over these past several weeks, and you know, you'll be able to come back maybe in 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, 30 years, you know, hopefully, and hopefully we'll have made something, a legacy that will last forever. I hope so. That's what I've always hoped with these winter updates. So hopefully the legacy will always be there. Thank you so much everybody for sticking with this journey, but we're not at the end yet. We've still got, you know, this update going, still got plenty more to show you, so I don't want to be sort of summing it up as though it's all over, because we're not quite all over yet. Thank you so much to Stryan, and also thank you so much to Richard for help on this video. Thank you so much to Richard for the amazing winter updates gift. Thank you so much, Richard. In a moment you're going to see the swingometer, of course, from Richard, so you'll find out how last week's 10th update has affected the swingometer, if indeed it has. More about that in a second, but thank you so much to Richard for the amazing winter updates gift, and thank you so much to Richard for the solar data you're going to see in a moment as well, and thank you so much to Stryan as well for the help on the video in terms of like solar data and also the ACE page. So thank you so much to Stryan and to Richard. And when we get to the sections where they've helped with, of course I will give them a really good shout out. Going to be a long video as always with long range, so you can't watch it all in go, but don't worry, it will be kept within the winter updates playlist on the GavsWeatherVids YouTube homepage, so you'll be able to watch the video on demand whenever you would like to do that. Thank you so much everybody for all of the support on our winter updates over all of these years. Right, so the very first thing that I've got to show you is going to be the swingometer. So we know that last week at the beginning of the 10th update we had a shot with the swingometer, as we showed, the swingometer showed that our winter updates were favouring a colder than average winter by 57% to 43%. Then we delivered the 10th update, so now you're going to find out how that 10th update, including that October data, has affected the swingometer. So here we go. Let's count this down, shall we? Let's count it down together. 3, 2, 1, Here we go, and there we see no change on the swingometer. We are still favouring, after 10 updates, we are still favouring a colder than average winter by 57% to 43%. Here's Johnny, yes it's Jack, telling us that we are favouring, I'm so sorry buddy, telling us that we are favouring a colder than average winter by 57 to 43%. That is no change on the previous week. So yeah, still favouring a cold winter. We will find out, of course, at the beginning. I love that. Thank you so much, Rich, for Jack. I love that. So you will find out at the beginning of next week's 12th update how this 11th update in 2 parts has affected the swingometer, if indeed it does. But for now, we see that we are still favouring a colder than average winter by 57 to 43%. Wow, wow, wow. What an exciting way to start this epic 11th Winter 2021-2022 update. What did you think about that, everybody? Good, wasn't it? Right, let's move on then. We're going to start this video by having a look at solar activity. So, and thank you so much to Rich, of course, the swingometer. Right, so we're going to start having a look at solar activity. This is how Solar Dish is looking on our side of it today from solarham.net. We've got some sunspot regions. They're relatively weak sunspot regions, so solar activity is at low levels and is expected to be at very low levels over the next 3 days. But there is a low level of sunspot activity. This is the GavsWeatherVids Winter Update Solar Activity Tracker, updated by Shryan. Thank you so much to Shryan Brewing for updating this for us. So we can see that we are having like a low, or we have had like a low level of sunspots over the past week. So the orange line and the orange spots indicating each individual day's worth of sunspots, and you can see that yes, we have had sunspots over the past week. All days have had sunspots, but a relatively low level of them. We have not spiked back up to where we was, you know, back in October when we was up there, and the daily sunspot count was up there on a couple of days. So we're not at that sort of level, but we have lifted up the trend line, which of course is the thick green line. That is our 30-day average, so that doesn't move around as much as the red line, which is the 7-day average. That moves around a lot with the daily average. The 30-day average doesn't move as much as that, but we have lifted that up a little bit over the past week or two, from there to around there. So the 30-day average has lifted up a little bit, but not back to where it was actually in September, when the 30-day average was up there. So yes, we're having sunspots, but a relatively low level of them at the moment. Thank you so much to Shryan for that. Now, who am I today? Let's have a look. Oh, so it's Gav Sinatra. I don't know. And now the end is near, so I think the final curtain. I'm so sorry, everybody. Yes, it's Gav Sinatra. Thank you so much, Rich, for turning me into blue eyes. The only thing is I have brown eyes, but thank you so much, Rich, anyway, for turning me into Frank Sinatra. Wow, wow, wow. Right, so this is showing spotty days and current spotty stretch. So the current spotty stretch is 0 days, as we have had sunspots over the past, you know, several days, including today or yesterday when you're watching this video. So currently for 2021, we've had 60 days without sunspots. That is going to be 19% of the year. So yeah, you know, it's a reasonably high percentage that for the second year of a solar cycle. Of course, year one is 2020 with 208 days without sunspots. Our solar minimum year was 2019, which had 281 days, 77% of the year without sunspots. So it's a relatively weak start to solar cycle number 25, as we've been saying. It's on a par really with 2010, although actually, it's a slightly higher percentage of spotlessness compared to 2010, which had 14 days. That's like the second year, so sorry, 24. That had 14%, 51 days without sunspots in that full calendar year. So it's a slightly higher percentage, but of course the amount of energy that these sunspots are giving out might be a little bit greater than it was in 2010. But yeah, you know, it's a slow start again. So sorry, 25. We're establishing our 7th update, which was so special that this solar cycle number 25 is performing in a very similar fashion to the start of solar cycle 24. So it looks like the two solar cycles 24 and 25 are going to be quite similar. Thank you so much to Richard for the data, and also thank you so much to Shryan as well. And yes, at least we forget, and so say all of us. We will always remember them, of course. Right, let's have a look at the QBO then. So this is how the quasi-Siberian oscillation is looking from NASA. So just to confirm that the ECQBO is continuing to descend. So we start with the easterly QBO up here, and it gradually moves downwards from the stratosphere into the troposphere. You can see that blue-green area is descending to the all-important boundary level of the atmosphere, but it's 30 to 50 HPA. There it is. Now, if we zoom in, we can see that at the very top of the atmosphere at 10 HPA in the stratosphere, we have got a little bit of a westerly QBO there, actually. So let's have a look at that. So this is like the very top of the atmosphere in the stratosphere at 10 HPA, and that area there tells us that you have got a little bit of westerly QBO very top of the atmosphere. It's not anywhere near level of the atmosphere that have any effect on the weather, so it's nowhere near the troposphere, 30 50 HPA. That might be the beginnings of the next westerly QBO phase, but eventually might get into the troposphere by sort of next summer time. But for this winter, there's no doubt about it, this winter will easily be an easterly QBO winter, and a strong easterly QBO winter as that, as we see by the intensity of the blue and green colours. And as we established in our QBO special that we did a couple of weeks ago, or a few weeks ago, that tends to favour a colder winter outcome. Right, let's have a look at the Arctic oscillation observed and forecast. This is how the AO observed and forecast currently looking. The AO is just index, just reflecting the atmospheric state, of course, it's not driving anything in its own terms, it tells us what the atmosphere is doing. So when the AO is positive, we've got low pressure over the Arctic. When the AO is negative, we've got high pressure blocking over the Arctic. So black line shows we're a bit with the Arctic oscillation, and we can see that generally the AO has been in a positive phase, particularly through the second half of October and into November as well. The current position of the Arctic oscillation is just bare around neutral, actually. But GFS ensembles may be hinting that as we go into the second half of November, we might start to send the AO negative. That would give us an increasing blocking signal if that was to happen. It's not completely guaranteed that that will happen because it's quite extended range within the GFS ensembles. But definitely quite a few of those ensemble members are taking the AO into a negative sort of scenario. And so that could be a sign that as we're approaching winter, going into the second half of November, late in the autumn, we might be starting to see signs of a northern blocking signal increasing, probably around Greenland. The NAO observed and forecast is the same idea. Black line again shows where we've been with the NAO, red lines at the end, where GFS ensembles are forecasting NAO to go. Just an index that's reflecting the atmospheric state, and this time measuring air pressure between Iceland and the Azores. So when we've got a positive NAO, we have low pressure around Iceland, and high pressure through the Azores will strengthen the zonal westerly flow. It's a mild signal, therefore, in the winter. When you have a negative NAO, you will weaken, sometimes replace the low pressure around Iceland with high pressure, and sometimes you will replace the high pressure through the Azores with low pressure, so it's a complete flip around, and that is a colder signal very often in the winter. Been through quite an extended period of negative NAO condition, actually, through much of October, started in the second half of September, carried on through October. Where we are right now, the NAO is just there around neutral again. GFS ensembles quite split, but possibly indicating that late in November we might start seeing the NAO also beginning to trend a little bit negative. So we could have both of our indexes, the AO and the NAO, possibly shifting into a negative scenario. That would be a colder scenario potentially at the latter part of November. But of course, it does depend on exactly where any blocking is happening to be sitting. And that's a critical factor. Right, let's have a look at the 2021 Atlantic hurricane season then. So this is the 2021 Atlantic hurricane season page from Wikipedia. The scores on the doors, Miss Ford, are looking like this. So we have had a total of 21 tropical depressions, 21 tropical storms, 7 hurricanes, and 4 major Category 3 or above hurricanes. All of those numbers are unchanged from last week. It's been an above average season, although we have had a very prolonged shutdown in this hurricane season started out. So it looks like, I mean, we're coming to the end of the hurricane season now. There's not all that much sign of any sort of activity going on. We looks like we probably had an early shutdown of an above average season, which is a little bit unusual. I don't know how often that's happened. Perhaps that's something Shryan could look into for you. I've not asked Shryan about that, so I'm sure as Shryan is watching this, it will come as a big surprise to him to hear me say that. But it would be interesting, wouldn't it, to know which seasons shut down early, because it does look as though, which above average seasons or high practice seasons shut down early, because it does look as though now we can pretty well say that this hurricane season did indeed have an early shutdown, despite being above average. This is the Atlantic hurricane seasons by ACE page that Shryan has been keeping updated. Thank you so much to Shryan Bruin keeping this updated. So, of course, this goes back to 1851. ACE is a way of measuring the amount of energy that each one of these tropical storms and hurricanes are emitting, because each storm and hurricane emits its own individual amount of energy, and then gradually it's all totaled up, to come to a grand total for accumulated cyclone energy for the season. The categories are below normal, near normal, above average, and hyperactive. As I say, we go back to 1851 with this. Let's go down then to the current year. I don't think we're going to see all that much change on last week, but let's have a look. So here's 2021 up to the 13th of November, up to this 11th winter update. ACE is currently standing at 145.10. Of course, that is after... No, what am I doing with that? That's last year, isn't it? So no, that's right. That's after... that is after 21 storms, 7 hurricanes, and 4 major hurricanes. Yeah, that's right, isn't it? That's right. I think that's right. That's 2021, isn't it? Yeah, I've got a little bit confused. So sorry, everybody. Got a little bit confused with myself. That's how we're looking in terms of that. Is that right? Is that right? I'm a little bit confused. Let me go back to the Wikipedia page. So, yeah, that is right. I've had 21 storms, 7 hurricanes. Yeah, so I'm so sorry, everybody. I've got a little bit confused with that. It's been a long day. So, let's do that again. Up to the 13th of November. I got confused with the running average, you see. Up to the 13th of November, we've had 140, where ACE is at 14510 after 21 tropical storms, 7 hurricanes, and 4 major Category 3 or above hurricanes. Now, that compares to the running average for the up to the 13th of November, where ACE should normally be at around, and of course, that's above normal for this season. We have an above normal season, even though there's been an early shutdown. Now, up to the running average, you would expect ACE to be at 118.80 after 14 tropical storms, 7 hurricanes, and 3 major. So, although we had an early shutdown of this season, it has been an above average season overall. How that compares with last week, ACE last week was standing at 144.70, so barely any change. And again, all of the numbers are unchanged: 21 storms, 7 hurricanes, 4 majors. And in terms of how that compares with this time last year, we did the 11th winter 2020-2021 update on the 15th of November last year. That compares, this one, ACE was at 167.40. We got a hyperactive by this point. It was after 30 tropical storms, incredible number, 12 hurricanes and 5 major hurricanes. So this season is, at the moment, I don't think there's going to be any change on this now, actually. I've been expecting that the season would ramp up, and have one final flush. I think possibly we won't do now. So in the end, it does look as though this season will be a little bit weaker than last season, but still above average. It will still be an above average hurricane season overall, I believe and think, and as we've demonstrated, is above average anyway. So next week we're going to have a look at some analogues for the hurricane season. So we'll be bringing you that data for next week's 12th winter update. That being part 2, of course. Right, I'm going to pause the video there, talk for 20 minutes, and I feel like I need to have a sneeze, so I'll better pause the video and have a little bit of a sneeze and compose myself. And when we resume, we're going to look at strat data. So I'll see you soon, but yeah, I'll pause the video there. See you in a second. Okay, we're back and we're ready to resume part 1 of the 11th Winter 2021-2022 update from GavsWeatherVids. It's been good so far, hasn't it? If you enjoyed it so far, please smash the like button. Make sure you sub to the channel. Thank you so much, everybody, for doing that. And drop a comment. Let us know what you think about this and all of our winter updates and videos and live streams and everything else that we do on the channel. Thank you so much to all of you for doing that. So where we left off, we were talking about the hurricane season. I messed it up a little bit. Gav messed it up there a little bit, didn't he? But we've established it has been an above average season for its hurricane season, and as I said before I stopped the video rather abruptly so that I could have a sneeze, next week we will be looking at data for this hurricane season, and that's going to be epic. So we'll see what we're doing from an analogs perspective with the hurricane season next week. You have lots, lots about it all next week. Thank you so much to Shryan for keeping the ace page updated for us. Right, we're going to bring you strat data next. Let's have a look at Stratosphere, shall we? So this is how temperatures are currently looking at 10 HPA over the North Pole set against the long-term average. This is from the JMA. So the black line shows how temperatures have been performing at 10 HPA in the Stratosphere over the North Pole versus average. You can see that we did go warmer than average actually with temperature at 10 HPA, very unusually so, back in October. Had a little bit of cool down as we gone into November, but only down to average. Temperatures at 10 HPA are only hovering close to long-term averages, somewhere close to minus 70. If we go a little bit lower down to 30 HPA, closer to the troposphere, we can see that there, again, very close to average, perhaps a little bit under the grey line now, after a warm up in October. But yeah, both 10 30 HPA stratospheric temperatures are very, very close to where you would expect them to be. Let's have a look at the GFS, which is a little bit different, actually. Let's go back to that. That's a little bit different compared to what I've had over recent years, because recent years in October and November, we tended to do something a little bit like that, and have a very cold stratospheric temperature, which of course peps up the polar vortex and drives the polar vortex over the Arctic and the North Pole and Greenland and whatnot, and strengthens the zonal flow. So this is a little bit different this season with the stratospheric temperatures. Right, let's have a look at latest GFS forecast then for temperatures at 10 HPA. So you can see that's how things are currently looking. So yeah, very close, around minus 70 somewhere, something like that. Very close to average, really, at 10 HPA. Over the next few days, so over next week, it looks like we just keep the temperatures going at this sort of level, somewhere in the minus 70s. Not desperately cold, certainly not a really dramatic plunge in the temperature. No sign of the purple colours turning up that will take the temperature down to minus 80 or lower. So just continue to be very, very close to the long-term average, really, with those temperatures at 10 HPA in the stratosphere over North Pole. Going to more extreme range, maybe signs then when it gets cold. So this is 25th November. We started seeing minus 80 temperatures beginning to appear as we go into the last week of November. Let's go back here and see how that would look. So if we did start going down to minus 80, then that will take the black line to around there. So by the end of the month, we might start to see the temperature going colder than average, actually, if this forecast is correct. But until, and of course, it's the same range, so it's unreliable, but until then, we're very close to our long-term average, really, I think. Certainly for the next week or so. But in the extended through the last week of November, we might start seeing the temperature getting colder. Certainly no sign of this southern stratospheric warming now. So we did see, like a couple of weeks ago, But the GFS has flirted with the idea of building up some quite warm temperatures over Siberia. There's not much sign of that. So certainly to the end of November, there's no sign of a warming of the stratosphere at 10 HPA. What about at 30 HPA, close to the Stratosphere? This is from ECMWF University of Berlin. Now the North Pole is highlighted helpfully with this black X just here. Again, we see the blue colours are very much close to average at the moment. This is forecast actually for the 16th of November, but you know, it'll be very close to average then, I think. By 20th of November, again, in those blue colours, but not excessively cold, really, but certainly no sign of any particular warming, certainly not over Canada. That's only because we get to day 10, which is the 22nd of November, with the ECM WF via the University of Berlin. And again, you know, in those blue colours, about average, really, for the temperature at 30 HPA. No sign of a warming of the stratosphere at 30 HPA, you know, up to the 22nd of November. Remember, in November, we looked to Canada, see if we can get a Canadian warming. It's been a very, very long time. I think the last time I had a Canadian warming in November was in the year 2000. So that's, what, 21 years ago. It probably happened since then, but that's the one that I remember quite well. I can't really remember that many since then. I'm sure somebody will correct me, though, in the comics, but certainly they've got a lot rarer. These Canadian warmings, you know, Canadian southern stratospheric warmings at 30 HPA have got a lot rarer, I think, over the past 10 to 20 years, and this looks like it's going to be another year when we go by without a Canadian warming up to 30 HPA in November. Now, this is from the ECMWF.int, so this is 6-week forecast for temperature anomalies at 10 HPA over the North Pole. So at the moment, the temperature anomalies, or next week, I suppose, temperature anomaly will actually be a little bit above average there over Siberia. As we go through the next 6 weeks, that's over looking week 2, which is the 22nd to the 29th of November. Getting a little bit colder, you know, getting a little bit colder over Canada. You'll notice a little bit warmer still over towards the Siberian side and Pacific side of the Arctic. Week 3 looks like that. Again, just a little bit of a cool down beginning to take place now. So the anomaly might start to go a little bit colder than average around the pole as we go to the end of November, which of course we've established, you know, from the GFS, that we might get temperature down to around minus 80, so that accounts for these blue colours. I'll put the scale on, shall I? There we go, there's a temperature scale. So you see, so that's only like, those pale blue colours, only like 2 degrees below average. Really. Week 4 is the 6th and 13th of December. Just going generally a little bit colder with the temperature at 10 HPA in the stratosphere, you know, particularly through the mid-latitudes, although it is warming up a little bit over towards the Pacific side of the Arctic. And then into week 5, actually a little bit of a Canadian warming starting to appear there in week 5. So that warming is focused on sort of the Canadian side of the Arctic. At the same time, the Siberian side of the Arctic is going quite cold, though, with the anomaly. And then week 6, 20th to 27th of December looks like that. And so that warming that happens over the Canadian side of the Arctic in week 5, that begins to fade out a little bit by the time we get through to week 6. It doesn't look as though we're going to have an excessively cold temperature anomaly and temperature at 10 HPA, but neither does it look as though we're going to get an early warming of the stratosphere. So we should wait and see how that all plays out. This is the extended zonal mean zonal wind forecast at 10 HPA from the ECMWF for the next 6 weeks. So we're actually a little bit above average now with the strength of the zonal winds at 10 HPA, although it's not really affecting the troposphere all that much, because I think the polar vortex is still rather weaker than what you typically expect. So we have got a little bit of a decoupling here between the troposphere and also between the stratosphere. But nevertheless, you know, the zonal wind is a little bit stronger than average. Average is this red line just here. We can see that now, actually, as we go through the rest of November and into December, I mean, this is a little bit of change what the ECM has been forecasting over the past few weeks. Zonal winds are going to stay a little bit stronger than average, actually, as we go into the early part of December, before maybe starting to move back close to average later on in December. And of course, that is extended range. Not that many Ensemble Blue members going for a reversal of zonal winds either. You will notice reversal of zonal winds would be around here. That would be via southern stratospheric warming. So very few going for a reversal of zonal winds. So maybe, we haven't really been expecting this, but maybe we're going to see the zonal wind getting a little bit stronger as the temperature cools down a little bit over the North Pole? It's possible we are. So after what looked like a very encouraging early part to the season in terms of what's happening in the stratosphere, may start to wobble a little bit on that. Needs to be kept an eye on that, I think. You know, been expecting relatively mildish temperatures at 10 HPA over the North Pole and a weakened polar vortex, but we might be wobbling on that just a little bit. So I'll be keeping a close eye on that. But that said, you know, there's no sign of anything excessively cold. There's no sign of an excessive powering up of zonal winds and polar vortex. So, you know, it's one of those scenarios where it's on a seesaw, if you like. We'll keep a close eye on that, and we'll have more, actually, for the stratosphere next week when we will go through some long-range model data for the winter and see what those long-range models are forecasting in terms of zonal winds this winter. Right, okay, talk for half an hour. We're going to pause the video there. When we come back, we are going to discuss Eurasian and Scandinavian snow cover. And then after that, we'll have a look at SST data and do our, you know, plenty on ENSO and have a little bit of an ENSO special. But I'll pause the video there, and you just go off and stretch your legs, and I shall see you in 2 seconds' time. See you very soon. Okay, we're back and we're ready to resume. I'm so sorry, buddy. We're ready to resume part 1 of the 11th Winter 2021-2022 update. I shall not talk about anything else. Let's just crack on. Let's crack on, shall we? So we're going to look at Eurasian snow cover next. So this is how Eurasian and Scandinavian snow cover was looking when we did last week's 10th update. So we got the snow line over Siberia there, and over Scandinavia it was there a little bit over mountainous areas further south. Right, so that's how things looked last week. That was the 5th of November. Remember, 5th of November, that's how it looked. This is the very latest then. As of the 12th of November, we can see we have pushed the snow line southwards quite significantly over Scandinavia again, and pushed it westwards quite significantly across Russia. So let's go back to last week. That is last week in terms of snow cover Scandinavia and Russia. That's this week. Clearly, there has been a very clear expansion of snow cover over the past week. How does that compare with the past several years? Let's have a look then. So this is last year, this is 2020, so you can see that this year we have got more snow cover over both Russia and Scandinavia compared to this point last year. That is 2019, so at this point in 2019, we've got a little bit more snow cover across Scandinavia, but I think got more this year across Russia, actually. That is 2018, so we've got more snow cover across Scandinavia and Russia this year compared to 2018. That is 2017, we've got more snow cover across Russia, and also probably across Scandinavia, actually, than in 2017 this year. That's 2016, now we're lagging behind 2016 significantly so for both Russian, Scandinavian, and even European snow cover. That is 2015, so we're ahead of 2015 for Scandinavian snow cover, probably a little bit behind though for Russian snow cover, but maybe quite equally matched actually. That's 2014, we are ahead of 2014 for both Russian and Scandinavian snow cover at this point. That is 2013, we are ahead of 2013 for Russia, for Russian and also Scandinavian snow cover. That's 2012, I think probably quite closely matched to 2012 actually. That's probably the closest, I think. Let me know in the comments which year you think are the closest. We may be a little bit ahead 2012 though for Scandinavian snow cover, but I think we're quite closely matched, actually. That's 2011. We're well ahead of 2011 for Scandinavian snow cover. We're behind for Russian snow cover. That is 2010. So we're behind 2010 for Scandinavian snow cover, but ahead for Russian snow cover. That's 2009. We are ahead of 2009 for Scandinavian snow cover, I think, just about, but probably a little bit behind for Russian snow cover. That's 2008. We're ahead of 2008, very substantially so, for both Russian and Scandinavian snow cover. That's 2007. We're behind 2007 for Russian and European snow cover. Maybe a little bit ahead of Scandinavian snow cover, though. That's 2006. We are behind 2006 for Russian snow cover, but probably a little bit ahead for Scandinavian snow cover. That's 2005. We're well ahead of 2005, both Russian and Scandinavian snow cover. That's 2004. Think about that. We're ahead of 2004 for Russian snow cover and for Scandinavian snow cover at this point. That is 2003. We're ahead of 2003 for Russian and Scandinavian snow cover. That's 2002. We're behind 2002 for Russian and Scandinavian snow cover. That's 2001. Wondering about that one. We're ahead of 2001 for Russian and probably Scandinavian snow cover too. That's 2000. We're ahead of 2000 for Russian and probably Scandinavian snow cover. That is 1999. We're behind 1999 for Russian snow cover, but ahead for Scandinavian snow cover. And that is 1998. We're behind 1998 for both Scandinavian and also Russian snow cover. We go even further back than that to the 1960s. Let's do it, shall we? Let's do it. Right, so this is 1997. You've got to tilt your head over to the side or maybe stand on your head for this. But just to show you where we are, we're just there. I'm just there, Scandinavia there, and Western Russia is just there. That's 1999. I won't compare now, so just try and keep this in your mind if you can, the current scenario. So that's 1997. I feel pretty quite close to 1997, actually, for both Russian and also Scandinavian snow cover. That's 1996. We're behind 1996 for Scandinavian snow cover. Probably quite close to Russian snow cover. That's 1995. We're behind 1995 for both Scandinavian and Russian snow cover at this point in November. That's 1994. We're behind 1994 for Russian and Scandinavian snow cover. That's 1993. We're behind 1993 for Russian snow cover, but ahead for Scandinavian snow cover. That's 1992. So we're behind 1992 for both Russian and Scandinavian snow cover. We're behind 1991 for Russian and Scandinavian snow cover. That's 1990. We're ahead of 1990 for Russian and Scandinavian snow cover. I think that's 1989. We're ahead of 1989 for Russian snow cover, probably quite close to match for Scandinavian snow cover. That's 1988. We're behind 1998 for Russian snow cover, but ahead for Scandinavian snow cover. That's 1987. We're behind 1987 for Russian snow cover, but ahead, well ahead, for Scandinavian snow cover. It looks like Scandinavia was snow-free at this point in 1987. I don't know what accounts for that. That's 1986. I think quite closely matched to 1986 for Russian snow cover, maybe a little bit ahead for Scandinavian snow cover. That's 1985, of which we are probably a little bit behind for Russian snow cover, maybe quite closely matched for Scandinavian snow cover. That's 1984. We're behind 1984 for Scandinavian snow cover, probably quite close to match so we're behind 1984 for Russian snow cover, probably quite close to match for Scandinavian snow cover. That is 1983. We're behind 1983 for Russian snow cover, but ahead for Scandinavian snow cover. We're doing quite well for Scandinavia. I'm not sure about Russian snow cover, but we have, as we have done previous season actually, we are doing quite well for Scandinavian snow cover. Again, that's 1982, ahead of 1982 for Scandinavian snow cover, but probably a little bit behind for Russian snow cover. That's 1981. We're behind for both Russian and Scandinavian snow cover this year. That's 1980. We're behind 1980 for Russian, Scandinavian snow cover. That is 1979. We're ahead of 1979 for Russian and Scandinavian snow cover. That's 1978. Probably quite closely matched, actually, to 1978, particularly for Russian snow cover. Not even too far away for Scandinavian snow cover either. So that is a pretty close year. Interesting. Interesting. I'm so sorry, everybody. That's 1977. So 1977, we are behind for Russian snow cover, probably a little bit behind Scandinavian snow cover. That's 1976. We're behind that year for Russian and Scandinavian snow cover. That's 1975. We're ahead of 1975 for Scandinavian snow cover. Probably quite close to a little bit ahead for Russian snow cover. That's 1974. Ahead of 1974 for Russian snow cover, but behind for Scandinavian snow cover. That's 1973, which we're behind for both Russian and Scandinavian snow cover. That's 1972. We're behind for Russian and Scandinavian snow cover that year. That's 1971. We're behind that year for Russian and Scandinavian snow cover. 1970, we're behind as well. And also 1969, we're so far back now, of course. That's 1968. We're behind that year as well for Russian and Scandinavian snow cover. That's 1967, which we are probably a little bit ahead of for Russian snow cover. Not sure, maybe quite closely matched. A little bit behind maybe Scandinavian snow cover. And then finally 1966. And again, probably a little bit behind, particularly for Scandinavian snow cover this year. Right, so at that point, we'll pause the video for the final time. When we come back, we can look at oceans data and do a little bit of an ENSO special as well. So I shall see you shortly for that. but one final stoppage, and then we'll complete part 1 of the 11th Winter update. See you soon. Okay, we're back and ready to resume the final part of part 1 of the 11th Winter 2021-2022 update. If you enjoyed the video so far, please smash the like button, make sure to show everybody for doing that. Where we left off before is that we were looking at Eurasian and Scandinavian snow cover. Next week, we're going to try and bring you some analogues for Eurasian snow cover. So that's going to be quite interesting. We did that last year. It's a new set of analogues that we never shown before last year. We're going to try and do that again next week, when we will combine that with the hurricane stuff analogues. So that'll be quite interesting next week for the 12th update. Right, so that's Eurasian snow cover done. Let's crack on then with oceans data before we end this epic 11th Winter update, part 1. So this is how the oceans were looking when we did last week's 10th update. So we've got our 4 areas of interest. Of course, it's from the 5th of November. Got our 4 areas of interest. Got the ENSO region just there. We've got the Northern Pacific just here, particular focus on the Northeast Pacific, Indian Ocean over there, North Atlantic over there. That's how the oceans looked last week. This is how they look this week. So in terms of the ENSO region, first of all, we're looking here. Of course, ENSO region being just there. So in terms of the ENSO region, I've been seeing a little bit of a strengthening of a La Nina signature. That's how we looked across the ENSO region last week. This is how we look this week. I think I've seen a little bit of strengthening of the La Nina signature. Colder than average sea surface temperature and have probably strengthened, particularly so, I think, in the eastern side of the equatorial Pacific Ocean. I don't think there's been much change in the central part of the equatorial Pacific Ocean, but over in the east, probably has cooled a little bit. Going further northwards into the northern Pacific, again, that's how things looked last week. That cold PDO signature there. This how it looks this week. No change. I don't think there's been any particular change here. We've still got the horseshoe shape of cold, particularly focused around there. So the cold PDO goes on. In the Indian Ocean, again, we're over here now. That's how things looked in the Indian Ocean last week. This is the latest. Not much change there. Neutral IOD condition continues, really. And then in the North Atlantic, remember, we're over here now. Divert your gaze right, please, everybody. So that's how things looking in the North Atlantic now. Going back to last week, that's how it looked last week. I don't think there's been any particular change in the North Atlantic. Most areas are still warmer than average. We do not have a tripole. There's not a tripole re-emerging. Just generally a warmer than average North Atlantic, as we have had for several months. This is the 7-day change in terms of sea surface temperature, not anomalies, but how the sea surface temperatures have changed over the past 7 days. So in the ENSO region, we see we have had cooling, as I thought we had in this eastern part of the equatorial Pacific Ocean. Could this La Nina start to become a little bit more eastern based? I wonder. The moment it's relatively mixed, perhaps a bit of a focus on the central part of the equatorial Pacific Ocean. But definite cooling has taken place over the past week in the eastern side of the equatorial Pacific with La Nina. Going further northwards, a little bit still cooling in this northeastern corner, still cool down going on there. In the North Atlantic, the tropics have generally warmed a little bit over the past 7 days. We've generally cooled things a little bit here and just there, but warm things a little bit there. So, you know, it's averaging out, it's evening itself out, and generally, even where it's cooled down, though, over the past 7 days, generally, it is still, you know, 2 or 3 degrees warmer than average. In the Indian Ocean, not all that much change, although it is warming up off the coast of Africa, but it's also warming up there as well. So I think in the Indian Ocean, we just keep that negative, or neutral, I should say, IOD going. So now we move on to ENSO. Let's move on to like the ENSO section before we finish. So looking at the Southern Oscillation Index, which is an index that's reflecting the atmospheric state in the Southern Ocean. We're looking like this is from Queensland Government part of Bureau of Meteorology. When the SOI is positive, the atmospheric state is reflective of La Nina. When the SY is negative, atmospheric state will be reflective of El Nino. So, lots of positivity of the SY, as you'd expect, given that we have got this La Nina going on. So, through November, actually every day in November, except for the 1st, has been positive. The 1st of November did come out minus 1.53, but other than that, every day has been positive. 2nd at plus 5, 3rd at plus 11, 4th at plus 12, 5th at plus 5, 6th at plus 3, 7th at plus 17, getting more positive, 8th at plus 20, 9th at plus 20. That might be why we're seeing cooling of those sea surface temperature numbers in the east part of the equatorial Pacific Ocean, strengthening of La Nina signature because of these positive numbers, which is showing that the atmosphere is very much in a strong, sort of mature La Nina type state. Plus 22 there on the 11th of November, plus 14 on the 12th of November, plus 13 on the 13th of November. La Nina well and truly entrenched. See, this is how things are in terms of the CPC cold and warm episodes by season chart, just to confirm that we have reached La Nina threshold. So this is showing all La Nina and El Nino events, warm and cold events, going all the way back to the 1950s, where we've got the red numbers, that we've got El Ninos going on. For example, in 1963 to 1964, we had an El Nino going on then, and then from 1964 to 1965, we have a very weak La Nina taking place. So if we come down to the current year, we can see that we have now reached La Nina threshold for our sea surface temperature anomalies. That actually happened in the last trimester period of July, August, September, went down to half a degree below average. That's your all-important number, half a degree below average or more, you know, and you have to do that over 5 trimester periods as well to get a La Nina designated. Same for El Nino, but to be half a degree or more above average. Latest number for August, September, October comes out at minus 0.7. So again, La Nina thresholds have been reached over 2 trimester periods. I think they will continue to be reached through the next 3 boxes that will be placed here. And so, you know, for the trimester period of November, December, January, that will get us back to blue. We will go back to blue, and we'll go back to La Nina, of course. Of course, we start off with La Nina this year as well. So 2020, 2021 did have a weak to moderate La Nina event, just reached moderate La Nina threshold, and then it went back to ENSO neutral, and La Nina is developing again. So it's going to be a second year La Nina. It's very late, though, to get a strong La Nina going. So let's go back to a year that had a strong La Nina, shall we? So we'll go back to 1988. Look at 1988. By this point, 1988, 1989 was a very strong La Nina event, but by this point in 1988, we was already sort of under -1. You know, we was over 1 degree below average, and you know, we was already significantly stronger with La Nina at this point in 1988 compared to where we are right now. So I don't think this is going to reach strong La Nina threshold. I think this will either be a weak or maybe moderate La Nina. Again, it looks kind of similar, maybe a little bit weaker, but kind of similar to the La Nina that we had last year, which did just about reach moderate La Nina threshold. But I don't see us being able to get to strong La Nina. I think we're just going to run out of time at the end to get to strong La Nina. This is how things look in terms of subsurface temperature anomalies. This is from the ENSO. This is from the NCEP NOAA PDF. So with this, we've got the surface of the equatorial Pacific just here. We've got Peru just there. We've got Indonesia over here. And these are the depths of the ocean going all the way down 300 meters. This massive cold and average sea surface temperature anomalies here is La Nina, you know, and at depth it is very cold actually. At depth around 50 to 100 meters, it goes down to around 4 to 6 degrees below average actually at its core. So, you know, it is a depth of strong La Nina, but I don't think that's going to get to the surface, or I think it will try to get to the surface, but it will run out of time, you know, to get to that sort of level. So I would imagine we'll continue to be around 1 to 1.5 degrees below average through there. It does look as though this cold mass is becoming a little bit more eastern based as well. This started off more around here. I think with time this is becoming a little bit more eastern based, maybe, Miss La Nina. That could be important for the winter, and we'll have a look at not only ENSO by strength, but ENSO by position in our in part 2 of this update with the analogues tomorrow, actually. Right, this is a CFSV2 forecast for ENSO. So, of course, we've got a temperature on the side. We've got dates on bottom in monthly periods. We're currently around here, somewhere between 1.5 degrees below average. Now, the CFSV2 has been consistently forecasted to be a strong La Nina. It is still just about going into strong La Nina threshold, but this is beginning to pull up. This black dash line is starting to pull up. I reckon in the end we'll do something like that, so it'll go down to around 1.5 degrees below average, kind of similar to where we was last year. I don't think we'll get a strong or a super Nino. I think we'll bottom out weak to moderate. This is how the ECMWF is forecasting things for this La Nina. And, again, you know, it looks like it's a little bit weaker with the ECM, maybe, but still in that sort of threshold of being around sort of 1 to 1.5 degrees below average by the end of the year, somewhere around there. Not as strong, I don't think, as CFS, actually, with the ECM WF. But again, like, weak to moderate. That's where I'm pitching this, where I have been pitching it all the way along, and I still think that is the most likely scenario rather than going down into a strong La Nina. So weak to moderate La Nina is what I would predict for this La Nina event. Of course, tomorrow we will try and explain what that could mean. The last thing I want to do is just have a look at all of the years back 1985 for the ENSO region, so you can see how this year is comparing, and then we will be done on this epic winter update, 11th winter update part 1. So that's how it currently looks. Again, we've seen some temperature is closed in on the ENSO region. Remember, we've got Peru just there. We've got Indonesia over here. So just keep that in mind. I will go back to it when we get to the La Nina years. That's how we currently look. Right, so this is last year, 2020. So I reckon that the La Nina this year is a little bit more extensive, but not as deep at this point. This is 12th of November. All of these dates are going to be 12th of November. So the La Nina was a little bit stronger, I think, at this point last year, actually. But this year it's a little bit more stretched out across the ENSO region. Now, 2019, you know, no comparison. That is a warm ENSO year. Also, 2018, no comparison to this year. That's a warm ENSO year. That's 2017. So this is clearly a stronger, a more widespread La Nina this year, 2017. 2016, what do you think about that one? Again, this is clearly a stronger La Nina than 2016. That's 2015, we had a Super Nino, so that year can be well and truly discounted from an ENSO point of view. That's 2014, again, 2014, warm ENSO year, so that's discounted. That's 2013. A little bit of La Nina signature there, but clearly this year, much more so this year than 2013. That's 2012. Now, 2012 is interesting because in the late summer, it looked like it was going to have an El Nino for winter 2012-13. At the last moment, it collapsed, and it actually finished up as like a very weak La Nina, I think, 2012-2013. Anyway, this year, it's much stronger with La Nina signature than 2012. That is 2011. So this year the La Nina signature is a lot weaker than at this point in 2011. That is 2010. Clearly, again, this is a weaker La Nina compared to 2010. Let me know in the comments, please, everybody, which year you think is closest to the La Nina this year. That's 2009, warm ENSO year. That one can be discounted. That is 2008. We're strong with the La Nina this year compared to 2008. That is 2007. We're weaker with the La Nina this year compared to 2007. That's 2006, which is warm ENSO year. That would be discounted. That's 2005. So we're a little bit stronger with La Nina this year compared to 2005. That's 2004. Warm ENSO year. That could be left out. That is 2003. Again, pretty warm ENSO year. No comparison to this year. That's 2002. El Nino going on there, albeit quite weak. So that one could be left out. That's 2001. Again, stronger this year and more of a La Nina signature this year compared to 2001. That is 2000. Probably, could be a little bit of similarity this year to 2000, actually. That might be one of the closer matches. Maybe a little bit stronger though this year. That's 1999. We're weaker this year compared to 1999. That was quite a strong El Nino event. And 1998, again, you know, we're a lot weaker this year with La Nina compared to 1998. Super Nino taking place at this point in 1997, so that one could be discounted too. That's 1996. I think we're a little bit stronger with a La Nina signature this year to 1996. That's 1995. Now, that might be quite a close-ish sort of match, actually. I reckon that could be relatively close at this point in November. What do you think, everybody? I think there's a similarity there. Overall, the Pacific is colder in 1925 compared to now. But for La Nina itself, I reckon that's probably one of the closer matches, actually. Right, 1994, warm ENSO year back discounted. 93, warmer ENSO year. 92, quite a warm ENSO year. 91, quite a warm ENSO year. 1919. You know, no real comparison to this year. 1989 has no real comparison. Very strong La Nina underway at this point in 1988. So, obviously much stronger with La Nina at this point in 1988 to this year. 1987, warm ENSO year, so that would be discounted. 1986 is warm ENSO year as well. And then the last year, which I have not got up, but there it is 1985. I didn't think it was going to appear, but there it is. And that's how looking 1985 was stronger with La Nina this year, a more central base compared to 1985. Let me know, everybody, in the comments, please, which year you think we're closest to. I reckon 1995, actually quite interesting. You know, I reckon 1995 is probably one of the closer years to this year in terms of both position and strength. Maybe also 20, I think it was 2011 might be quite close. But anyway, let me know in the comments. I don't want to sort of prejudge what you're going to say. So let me know in the comments, please, everybody, which years you think we're close to in terms of the overall appearance of La Nina. Right, so we're done with part 1 of the 11th update, but we've got so much more to show because we've got all the analogs still to come, and that'll be including part 2. And so with that, you're going to see, you know, a La Nina by strength, you're going to see a La Nina by position, back-to-back La Ninas, and we will also be combining La Nina with a PDO. Remember, we did the analogs looking at the Pacific Decadal Oscillation, so cold PDO. So we're going to combine those cold PDO years with La Nina as well. So you're going to see all of that in part 2 of the 11th update. It's going to be epic. That'll be coming at 6 p.m. tomorrow. How long we talk for? Nearly 55 minutes. Okay, I'm going to end it there. Thank you so much, everybody, for making this incredible part 1 of the 11th Winter 2021-2022 update. I hope you enjoy it. It's unique content. Nobody else online is doing this that I am aware of. You know, I don't think you can find this content anywhere. I just hope that everybody is enjoying these winter updates, watching them as much as I am enjoying doing them. Absolutely amazing year of updates, I think. Thank you so much, everybody, for sticking with it. Thank you so much to Richard and to Shryan for all the help on video. I'm going to stop the video there. I'll see you at 6 p.m. For our live stream. But for part 1 of the 11th Winter 2021-2022 update, that's all for now. And thanks for watching.